Thursday night or round four for the month of January. I am Michael Perry, and I am pleased to be joined by National Master OK.
Hey guys.
Just a few quick announcements regarding upcoming tournaments. We have a nice slew of tournaments coming up at the castle. This Saturday, it's the Winter Rapid. It's 5 rounds of game 30 with delay 5. So it's nice to fit in 5 games just in one day there. So if that's your time control or you just want to play some chess, check that out. That'll just be on Saturday. You can see the flyer on the castle website, and that tournament's being run by Joshua Rajabari. And then the next week is really the big one. It's the Chess Castle Championship. Obviously, just happens once a year. And if you want to get your name on the plaque and win some cool prizes like having entry fees pretty much discounted for the entire year, make sure to sign up for that. That's the January 31st and February 1st. So Saturday, Sunday. And you can see all the details also on the council website. And that's being run by Dane. And then the following week is the Scholastic Grand Prix. So for the kids and high schoolers, that is the Grand Prix number 3. And then it'll be held on February 8th, which is a Sunday. And there's some pretty substantial prizes there. So also check that out. But with that being said, I'll turn it over to OK for a special game.
All right. Well, before we get into tonight's games at the castle, we'll continue. I guess this is the third time in the tradition of showing games from the Twin Ports Chess Club, which is running its Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Tournament. And Monday was the third round. Our featured game is between two of our regulars at the club up here, Sean Zentrick as white and Ron Decker as black. And let's get into it. It starts off as, well, with D6, it's an invitation to any kind of opening. Here it's modern. White decides to keep it within D4 territory. And at this moment, it's okay, maybe it could be going towards an old Indian. And Queen A5 is not a typical move, a bit provocative. And White responds with Bishop D2, inducing Black to go back to C7. And it's not clear who got the better of that interaction. It would seem maybe Black is going to be happy with his queen on C7, and White might want to use a move to take his bishop to a different square. D2 is not the most active. So we continue, and now we're getting a semi-closed position in the center after D5, and knight C5, bishop runs back. Black plays A5, trying to make his knight on C5 more comfortable, well, harder to pick out. But it's still not clear he'll be able to keep him there. And part of the problem is that A4 is well covered by White, so that if Black were to try A4 right now, in fact, maybe now is the time he has to do it in order to keep A3, B4 from happening, because he can get Queen A5 in. The problem is that with the bishop on D2, Queen A5 isn't going to be as strong. So say Black, which Black really should be paying more attention to getting his king out of the center. But if Black were to play A4 at some point to follow up with Queen A5, he'll be staring straight at the bishop there. So the tactics probably wouldn't work for him.
It still should work though, right? Because E4 would be overloaded, so maybe he can still try it.
Yes, that is true. And it seems as if White figured, well, I'm going to do the normal thing and get my pieces developed. And then Bishop G4 happens, and I'm not terribly enthused with Bishop G4 because now White is able to get F3 in with tempo. Yes, it's weakening some dark squares in White's camp, but Black isn't in a position to take advantage of it right now, and it also means that White can more easily set up for his b4 push, because a4 is no longer a thing, right? Since e4 is now defended.
Yeah. I think I personally would have just played bishop d7 or bishop e7.
Yes, I think either of those might have been more circumspect, because the bishop's hanging out on h5, and depending on how the further game goes, could find itself imprisoned over there, not contributing to the game. So bishop e3, spending the tempo to get the bishop to a better square, also keeping an eye on that knight, and potentially on this square here. So then knight d7 occurs, knight g3, and this is what I was mentioning earlier about the bishop finding itself sort of in the desert. Now, maybe he could be hoping for an f5 push, but that'll take a bit of preparation. Maybe he could be looking at an h5 push, h5, h4, h3, but the bishop's going to have some difficulty getting back in the game, at least the way it looks right now. So then white goes ahead and plays a3, preparing b4, and as mentioned earlier, a4 is not working for him. So the knight's going to have to retreat, and black should keep that in mind when playing his next move. He plays bishop e7. I figure he's intending to take his knight back to a6 if b4 happens, and that's what occurred. And at this point in the game, I think white is doing rather well. He's got a big space advantage. He's finished his development. His king is relatively safe. Maybe he might tuck it to h1 at some moment. But black really has to... Black isn't losing, but black has to really fight hard,
Yeah.
to create any kind of play
I'm curious,
and not just get smooshed.
what would you play here as black? Because I have a move in mind that just naturally comes to mind, but
Uh, it's tough. I mean, I guess it's not. I don't. It looks bad strategically playing cd5 because knight d5. But if our king is going to be stuck in the center, maybe it's worth the pawn. I doubt it. Let's see. Let me see what else I might consider.
that's interesting because
Because
I should have looked at CD5. I didn't even look at CD5. That's interesting. Yeah.
but I think it's a bad pawn to take, and maybe the king will be punished for hanging out in the center. So we're looking this, and this,
Oh,
and I just
yeah.
yeah,
And
this
now that I
just
look
seems
at it,
bad.
yeah, because after queen takes c4, we have moves like b5, bishop b3, rook c1, and now c7. We might get a fork on
Yep,
c7 too. But
yep.
the move I was looking at for black after rook b1 is c5, which it may just be bad, but my gut here is just that white has much more space, and if black doesn't close off the position, white's going to just take on c6 or play b5 right off the bat, and then we kind of have like a two-pronged fork of the pawn on c6 and the knight on a6. So even
Hmm.
though, yeah, white probably goes b5 here,
Yeah, I
and
was
then
looking at this too, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about the knight getting back. But now that now that it's on the board, it looks actually like it has a bit more promise, because he has time to get the other knight to b6, and then route the knight on b8, So then maybe do something like this and this.
Yeah. And now black, I kind of like this for black because they're closing down a position that kind of needed to be
Yes.
closed. So now if white wants to break through, their really only opportunity is like an f4, and that'll be a little tricky because they'll never want to take on e5. So then do they have to push f5? So this would be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like this idea. I like this idea. Um, White basically trying to close down, lock up the position on the side where he's inferior, which gives him time to, and then of course it means that um, he's not so desperate to get his king out of the center if white can't open things up quickly enough.
Yeah, you
So yeah,
might even
c5.
castle. You might even castle queenside. Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's a wild thought, but yes, that is something I was looking at too. So yeah, so 0-0. It's a normal move, but it's not. It's kind of hitting the ball over the net, right? And I think c5 is a bit more of a bridge burning move. So then queen d2 and knight b6. So black is trying to put some pressure on white's position, trying to say, well, yeah, you got a space advantage, but you got to defend that space now. How are you going to do that? Unfortunately, a pawn disappears in the process. And I think whether it's a good pawn or not isn't clear. I'm not sure whether Ron realized he was giving up the pawn with this, because it seems like it's going to be really hard to regain. And the
Yeah.
pawn, sometimes you capture a pawn and the pawn extra isn't doing anything. But in this case, the pawn on a5 is helping white's clamp on the queen side and might support, say, a knight jumping into that square.
Yeah.
So that's not a really good pawn to lose. So the knight a4 happens, and zooming into b6 if given the opportunity, which black really can't do anything about, it seems.
Yeah, this is white's playing quite well.
Yes. So now we have this position, and okay, I take exception to that move. I don't know that white is really. I don't know that that white's really ready for that move yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's needed. I would just play on the where we've been playing on the queen side, maybe like
On the
double
queen side,
stack
yeah.
on the b file or something.
Yes. I mean, I think maybe something like bishop c2.
Yeah, or preserve that first.
Preserve that first, and then maybe look at doubling on the b file. I mean, white already has an extra pawn, which is a sound extra pawn, and he has no. He's not going to gain more than black by opening the position. Part of my issue is by playing f4, that opens up e5 for one of black's knights, or maybe his bishop, and then black is getting more space for his crowded pieces. Right now, his knights are both want to be on c5. Only one can be there at a time, right? But you open up after f4, and maybe the other knight gets to e5 and is happy with his life. So let's see. Let's see how this continued. And Ron, cagey veteran that he is, immediately puts his sights on the dark squares that have been opened up for him, the bishop f6. And rook e8, putting pressure on e4. Queen c2, which looks like a blunder. That's blundering an exchange right away.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. So it seems like maybe Ron didn't notice or probably felt he had something stronger, but right away, knight takes bishop, queen takes bishop, bishop takes pawn, and that rook's in trouble. And the queen has to withdraw to a square where he's protecting that guy. So
Queen G3 might save some material though.
so let's take a look at that. So queen G3. Let's see. So rook here.
Bishop takes.
Bishop takes.
I
Queen
wonder.
back.
Yeah, I wonder if we're back in the game though, because I want to play like. I think we have to play knight takes d7. Because if we play bishop
Knight
takes,
takes
then knight takes.
d7.
Yeah.
Queen takes.
Now, do we take on f6 or b8?
That's a good question. This is actually pretty complicated. Maybe this is why Ron didn't go for this.
Well, we probably take on b8. Because
So
it's a
if you
rook.
take on b8, then maybe there's rook takes
And then rook takes.
on f6 or on b1.
Rook takes at f6.
If rook takes f6, then I think this might be a little bit bothersome.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a good move. So rook takes b1. And then it's
Rook takes b1, and then pawn takes pawn. And it's
equal
a
material,
mess.
but black's a bit more active.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And his pawns might be maybe slightly. His pawn structure might be slightly better. But okay, so maybe Ron had seen complications like this and decided it wasn't worth it. Now, there's also the possibility of
Yeah, just knight c5.
just knight c5.
And this looks really bad for
And
white.
this is, yeah, now this I think is almost curtains.
That
So
e4
here,
that e4 pawn can be taken 3 different ways.
yes. Dude, I had this crazy position this weekend where I was down a piece, but my opponent had 3 pieces hanging at the same time. hadn't had that kind of position in a while because I'm always playing careful chess. But yeah, it was exciting for the brief moment that it existed on the board. But yeah, this might be troublesome because knight c5 I think improves the variation significantly.
Yeah.
And okay, it also illustrates another important thing, which is material is useful, but position is everything. So if you're going to win material, but end up with either a bad position or giving your opponent all kinds of initiative, then maybe the material isn't worth the trouble. So yeah, we get here, and then there, and 95, which puts double pressure on the bishop on d3. Then rook takes, continuing to put pressure on e4, again threatening to win an exchange. And then knight c3 protects the pawn on e4. The rook on b8 puts even more pressure on e4, and also is preparing to join the rest of the battle. So for the better part of this game, all the action has been on the queen side, and it seems like there's a seismic shift occurring where maybe the king side is going to be the new theater of battle.
I couldn't help but look.
Mm-hmm.
On move 31, the end of the game, we have rook takes h2 check. I just can't believe that that's the final position. We'll see how we get there, but I'm like, how did this game end in 4 moves? And then I look down and I see rook takes h2 as the last move played. I'm like, how is that even going to happen?
Oh, let's see. I haven't looked at this game, so this is going to be an interesting one. Let's see how that happens. So queen e7, bolstering pressure on e4, bringing the queen over to the. So all of this is actually kind of funny. I don't use it myself, but I know sometimes in assessing a position, you kind of divide the board into quadrants to see what pieces are where. And if you're trying to do an attack on the queen side, maybe you want to get more pieces there. More pieces. If you look at this quadrant here, pretty much all of Black's army is over here and able to switch their attentions to this guy here, while White's pieces are set up for the party on the queen side. That's not happening. So maybe that might be one of the things contributing to this quick finish. We'll see what the finish is, but rook b6, I guess putting pressure on the c6 square.
Yeah, that's an insane move, though. Just take the knight on c5.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this is
you're
just
more
take the
than
knight on
fine.
c5. Just do that. Nothing special. You're holding on to your pawn. Maybe you bring the other rook. In fact, I think you have enough stuff defending on e4, so you don't even have to do anything more about that. Maybe even capture.
I mean, even whatever we do, we have options now. Like either take on
Yes,
c6, or now even play rook b6, or
b6.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're always eyeing our doubled a pawns to become dangerous.
exactly. But definitely that knight on c5 is better placed than the knight on a4. And the knight on a4 can't contribute to defense on the king side, and isn't really positioned as the position is right now, isn't really located in a way that's going to further White's queen side ambitions. So it makes sense to just exchange it off. Knight on c3, if need be, can go to a4. And so you're not. It's usually best not to have two knights fighting for the same square. I think there's the terminology of the superfluous knight or whatever. Anyway, rook b6 happens, which is a little, maybe more than a little ambitious. And then queen rook h5. Oh, is this how this happens? Oh
Yeah,
no. Okay, now it makes some sense. So then White continues with his queenside attack, losing sight of a very important possibility. So bishop d4 occurs, check. White doesn't want to give up his h2 pawn, so he goes to the side, and this is a common mating motif. Bang, crash, wallop. All of a sudden, if the only move is to capture, and then this is a checkmate. And the important thing is the bishop controlling the g1 square. So, ouch. How can I do this that it makes it a there? Okay. Nope. There. How do I do it so that it comes up as okay, let's do this.
might have been promote variation back where you were.
Yeah, let me see. Copy mainline. Again, delete from here. Let's delete from here. Then rook h2. And then see if we can add a variation to this. I'll have to learn how to do that later. But basically, yeah, rook h2, and then if white plays the forced move, king h2, then queen h4 is made. So it's hard to say. The game doesn't lend itself to an easy summary. I suppose when it comes down to it, black kept his eye on the prize, and white kept his eye on a different prize. At the end of the day, the king's a better prize.
And this is a really bold claim for me to make,
Mm-hmm.
but and it's not true, but I like making bold claims, and I like making, people like to hear stuff like this. I'm
Okay.
gonna predict that f4 was what lost white the game,
Yeah.
because f4 was what opened up black's rook, both his rooks and his queen, to pile up on that e pawn. If white wouldn't have done that, position would have been closed, and he would have been able to do what he wanted to do, which was attack on the queen side.
Exactly. So let's go back to this position. So I think that that comment is not only bold, it's accurate. And it's a cautionary thing for all of us, I think, because I make the same sort of mistakes. And then you don't have to open the position because somebody says, well, the next step is open the position. No. And if you're going to open the position, you open the position where you intend to be active. And so there's nothing to position now suggesting that white is going for a kingside attack. And there's nothing saying that if he does go for a kingside attack, that it's going to be more successful than just focusing on the queen side. So that f4 here does nothing really to improve white's position, but does a lot to improve black's position. And so that's the one thing I'd say for Sean, if he's watching or watches this later, f4 was definitely what gave black play.
Yeah.
At this position, after bishop c2, black's position is just miserable, I think. I wouldn't like to play black here. I mean, not that black is just losing, but I would not want to be black in this position.
No. And I think, yeah, bishop c2, and then the next couple moves would be something like knight e2 and knight c3. And we're not saying white's gonna breeze by black, but if you just play those slow moves and slowly play waiting moves on the queen side, black can't really do too much, and you'll just probably slowly increase your advantage.
Exactly. Well, that was an interesting game and a more interesting finish. Good game by Ron, good finish by Ron. And I think he's leading going into so next Monday is the last round for the tournament. I think he's one of the leaders. So we'll see what they produce next week. All right. Well, let's go to today's games, and we have some that are finished already. Oh, okay. This seems like a mini upset of sorts. Daniel Stanky versus Jordan Tim. Starts off as a Sicilian. C3 Sicilian. Now, maybe you can help me out. Is this book up to here, or is this?
I'm guessing it is, but that's a good question because I normally take on d4 with the pawn, not with the knight, so that move surprised me a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I
So
just like
pawn takes here.
Yeah, pawn takes. I just like bigger center, so knight takes d4. It might be book, but since I don't play it, I'm just not familiar with it.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like an interesting decision to me. And on the surface, I'm not sure I like it, just because the knight on b1 is losing its chance to get to c3.
Yeah.
And the e5 pawn is slightly weak. But if the idea is, okay, now black has dark square weaknesses, created, if that's the idea, then I suppose makes some sense. Maybe we take a look at the database and see um, who's played the white side of this. There's some 2400s playing here, the white side of this position.
I think it's really a bad sign though that we're not seeing any GMs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even at this point, I think almost um, of the is this almost 6,000 games have reached this position, and at least in terms of the Masters database, only 8 games out of 6,000 featured knight takes d4. Um, so so maybe that's just for general knowledge. C takes d4, I think, just seems more in keeping with the position.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the actual game. So we have this. Okay. This is the point where I start talking about me being an old fuddy-duddy and modern chess making no sense to me. Now, let's see. So, and this is one of the reasons I didn't like knight takes d4, is the e5 pawn is made a bit weak, which means you have to play either bishop f4 or f4. If you play f4, that weakens your king's potential home on g1. And already I prefer black here.
I just find it funny that so he went knight b6. I guess it makes sense because you're hitting a tempo on the bishop. But then as soon as white plays f4, Daniel plays f4, black plays knight d5 back because he wants to play bishop c5, and he couldn't do that right away because then just b4 would knock the bishop with no way home.
Yes.
So it seems a bit redundant from Jordan, but I kind of understand it.
No, it's he's ensuring that his pieces are playing as a team, and sometimes that requires moving someone who is currently comfortable in their position somewhere else to make room for the other. Now, this is that the donation of a pawn right there? Yeah, it looks like it. So it's a pawn donation, but because black's pawns are kind of funky, maybe he's not feeling it yet. I don't know. I like black's chances for winning here. Bishop a6. Hmm. Yeah, this might be getting. Okay. So he still has decent chances, but it might be difficult to convert that extra pawn. He has to figure out how he's going to create a pass pawn. Oh, you know what? You can try and create a pass pawn where he has a majority of pawns on the king side. So let's see how Jordan goes about this.
Yeah, something feels a little off in Jordan's play this game. I don't know.
Yeah,
It feels just how he's playing. It can be tough to pinpoint, but it feels a little off. Like just a couple decisions he made, especially in the opening. Then I'm like, I think you had a little something more there that you usually would have found.
yes, I agree. it's not a normal Jordan. It doesn't have that Jordan feel to it. Um, let's go back a second here. So after this, f6 and 92, does he have to let his bishop be taken right at that moment? Because I think it's, or maybe he just miscalculated. Because allowing the pawn to get sit on e5 seems. Oh, but if he doesn't allow the bishop to be taken, the knight can get to b3.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can try is like a quick like bishop a6, bishop c8, bishop d7 reroute to target a4, but I don't know if that works.
That's yeah. It seems like that might be a bit slow. So actually, well, maybe we should give Daniel more credit for figuring the specifics of the position out, because with that intermezzo, it's, I don't know, it's hard to count. Let's see.
Yeah, I wonder.
Can Jordan? Yeah.
I'm just trying to calculate. So on move 26, d takes e5. Okay, that's fine. F takes e5, fine. So, but instead of f6, what if? I mean, white only has one plan. Let's be clear. White wants to take the a5 pawn because it's on the opposite color as the bishop, and Jordan's
Yeah.
still up a pawn, and he wants to play f6. So we know what's happening. So what if
Yes.
instead of f6, Jordan plays bishop a6, knight d2, bishop c8, knight b3, bishop d7, and then
Mm-hmm.
if Daniel takes, Jordan will take on a4. And you can't play king b3 obviously to protect the pawn because then, well, you're not going to win his pawn. So I think Jordan could have played that, kept kind of the
Yeah.
status quo on the.
Let's put the moves on the board for folks. So
Yeah,
you're saying bishop here, knight here,
yeah.
bishop here,
Hmm.
knight here, and then just in time, bishop there. And so I suppose knight c5 is possible too, but assuming they capture each other's pawns and position comes to the king side, um, black's winning chances are still there, but it's still tough because with all the pawns on the one side of the board, the knight has better defensive chances. Although I still would prefer to be black, regardless of that. But yeah, I think this might have been a more nuanced point. F6 just seemed a little bit impatient,
Yeah,
especially when you consider that he'd be left with a difficult to get at pawn on e5. So maybe even before playing, I don't know whether the king should get itself to c6 is another possibility. But let's play the f6 plan. Do something like this, and then here. And so now if he captures, we have this. So of course it won't go to c3 immediately, though. It'll probably shadow. But now when f6 happens, the king is already prepared to go to d5 to capture on e5 if he keeps his pawn there. So that's another plan, I think, that can be considered.
yeah,
But f6 immediately just seems, just because it's so difficult to get at this guy, if white allows the capture to happen on e5. And I think Daniel's judgment was correct in going for this line, just because it takes so many moves for the black king to attack that. So we have this, and I think this might be a weird sort of trebuchet. Now the pawns the material's even now, right? And so it's now basically a race, and counting is the thing. So let's see if everyone uses their tempi most efficiently.
I'm glad you didn't say time because Jordan definitely isn't using his time.
No, he isn't. He actually has more time than he started. You know, okay, so this is Interesting.
And that was actually an only move, interesting enough, because king c3 blundered queen a5.
Yes, I should put that on the board. So here, and yes, if he tries not to go into that, then this is winning.
And obviously, yeah, king e4 blunders the skewer.
Yep. So yeah, king. So there's here, there's here, which loses to this because the king's too far from the queen. Same thing applies to that. So yeah, king e3 is only move. And it just so happens, so actually Jordan had to save this game somehow. Okay, now it's drawn. Maybe. Maybe Daniel's thinking of winning now because he could have won. He could have exchanged off pawns a move ago. And yes is a draw, but maybe for some it might not be the most trivial. Basically, when you're a pawn down to these kind of rook and pawn, king and pawn endings with a rook pawn, the defending king needs to be able to get to one of these two squares. Once he can get to one of those two squares, they're golden. And so we'll see Daniel make a quick race, and now he's good. And now there's no way that Black can force the promotion of the pawn, and Jordan gamely just pushes it to the stalemate position, which you see here. Okay. That was an interesting fight. I thought, yeah, there's something about the game, about Jordan's moves. It just didn't seem.
Crisp.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for, crisp. Um, so, all right, well, let's see what other game is done. We have Will Velen versus Vihan Prakya. See how this went. So we have Italian game, an old school Italian game, really old school. So this is going into Gambit's territory, I think. Let's go. Yeah, this is. I can't remember the name of this thing, but it's. I've seen it before, and after all the excitement, White's still a pawn down, but Black has to spend at least a move trying to figure out what he's doing with his knight. And in the meantime, Black has to deal with flash attacks like this. Now, in this position, maybe Vihan overplayed their hand. Because after that, Queen there doesn't look convincing at all because of h6. And now the knight goes back, then Black is able to exchange off queens. And then when another pawn, and Black is just better. He has enough time to get his bishop and queen rook into the game. So Vihan decides to play rook e1 with some nebulous attacking chances. I suppose the idea is if here, then here, and voila, queen's trapped. Actually, pretty clever, if you ask me. Um, but black could play here now, and compared to the other variation um, that we looked at least white has gained a development tempo with rook e1, but I don't know if it's really improving the situation. And so he tries to avoid the queen exchange by queen h5, and maybe hoping that he still has black's queen in the box, but will takes the piece, and it seems as if it, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I was just looking this player up, Will Veland, because he was a player that I had tabbed internally as just a player to watch because I'd seen him at the club. I knew he was a youngster, and he seemed to just be like an improving player. Whenever you see an improving player who's half your height, you got to watch out. And
Yes.
I looked him up, and he's currently almost 1600, which I mean is crazy good. He's 10, and like
Mm.
when I was watching him at the club, this was literally like a few months ago, like not even 6 months ago, and I want to say he was like 1100. So he is improving like
Whoa.
great. Yeah, he's improving like crazy. So just just let him be on your radar.
Okay. All right. I'll keep his name in mind. There was another. I mean, this is like I don't know, 15 years ago. There's another kid with a similar last name. I think it was out of Wisconsin. So maybe there's a relation. Maybe there's some relation there, but yeah, this he's playing this position fairly confidently, considering what White is trying to do to him.
And White
And
walked
all
into
of a
the trap.
sudden,
Yeah.
yeah, wow, that's actually he didn't panic. He didn't shiver. He just, okay, what are you trying to do to me? Um, play here. White bluffs with queen h5. I don't want to exchange. And black is like, okay, that's fine. I'll take the piece, and you still have nothing. And it's interesting how he's using every move rather than taking any loafing moves off. Every move um, has a little bit of a tactic in it to achieve his aims. So then he plays queen there to force the opponent's queen off the H file, and that's just enough time. Now, I don't know whether there's any way to strengthen White's attack. It just seems maybe in this position, rook g3. It's still fairly awful, but maybe rook g3. Uh,
Yeah,
people,
that was my gut instinct too. Because now we're eyeing G7 indirectly with both the rook and the queen. So
yes. There's some cheapo potential there.
yeah, and then maybe we have like H4,
Mm-hmm.
H4, H5, and we're just trying to divert the queen or something.
And part of the idea is that f4 isn't fast enough because we have this. So, um, so yeah, I mean, I don't, I still think black would be better, but um, in these sort of positions, white needs a puncher's chance, and that would definitely give a puncher's chance. I think rook g3.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was I think impressive in a certain way because I like defensive chess or uh, um, competent defensive chess, and this was very competent defensive chess. Once he needed to defend, he defended very well. And so, all right, well, that's a good one. Let's see what happened. Oh, interesting that there's still many games going on. So let's go in board order. We'll see Nate Hoover versus Eddie Wasserman. Starts off as a ready and then transposes into a symmetrical English. And Black has tried to set up the reverse Marachi bind. And so Black has definite influence on the dark squares. And so part of White's plan to fight against that is to attack the major pillars of Black center. And first of all, he's going with b4.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
And
surprised
it's
both
int-
players didn't play. I'm surprised White didn't play B4 earlier and Black didn't try to stop him. I don't know.
I think Nate is probably going on the premise of he can't keep me from playing b4, and it might be better if I finish my development before I play b4. The danger with that approach, though, is it allows Black the chance to set up his defenses against b4, right? That's along the lines of strike while the iron's hot. And so now we have a weird sort of symmetrical situation on the queen side. Whose pawn is weaker? I don't know. Um, or maybe the question should be whose pawn is stronger. I still don't know. But it creates room for an interesting maneuvering battle, I think. One of the items that I didn't mention um, is that while White had the idea of attacking Black's pillar on c5, Black had a similar idea. And by inducing White to capture on b5, now White no longer has as much influence on the d5 square, just as Black doesn't have as much influence on the d4 square. So it's both sides can claim they got something out of this whole thing. Now, can Black push d5 safely and then maybe take even more space in the center? We'll have to see.
Yeah, because initially this Queen C1 move, I was gonna call it out. I didn't like Queen C1 because I thought D5 is quite strong for Black, and White should be playing E5 like a must E5 to stop that. But the more I look at it,
Like
I think
here.
yeah, I thought it was kind of a must. Even though it blocks out your bishop on G2, I just think you can allow D5. Like that's what's important in the position right now. But the more I look at Nate's Queen C1, I think he is defending against it, but with tactics.
Yes.
Um, yeah, before Bishop D7. I think if D5 now, then Knight takes D5. If Knight takes, we obviously just take on C3, C6, and if Queen takes, yeah, then we have some Knight discovery.
Let's see
Which,
which let's see which one works.
or does it? Because the Knight on E7 defend. Maybe this doesn't work. You know what? I'm reversing everything I said again. E5 still should have been played. E4 still should have been played.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder about this position for White after after d5. So if if we say, okay, white plays according to how he chose to play in the game with bishop h6,
I mean, I'm probably playing bishop e6 or bishop f5, one of the two. Probably bishop
mhm.
e6.
Or even queen d6, I guess is doable
Yeah, or queen g6.
first, till we know where the bishop is going. Um,
And now
and
black should just be slightly better. I mean, we are
yeah,
threatening b4 too.
yeah, yeah. So maybe black is better in this situation, and so black maybe would have considered d5 instead of bishop d7, which um, and that's an interesting decision. I don't play these Vanketa positions enough to be an authority, but um, would it have made more sense for black to find something else to do? Maybe d5 again or knight f5 rather than be the one to initiate. I mean, is there? Well, I suppose he can. He always has knight f5 immediately. So maybe that's Eddie's idea because Eddie is very concrete in his approach. Maybe he's intending eventually to use knight f5 to kick the queen out. He starts off with f6, making sure the knight doesn't get to g5, and now comes in with knight f5. So, wow, actually, the way this game has gone so far, um, black should not be complaining at all.
No, but notice that now white has their knight on e4, and now if black tries for d5, white has the natural knight c5. So I still
Yep.
didn't really like bishop takes h6. I mean, you do get your knight to f5, but like, how is that so good? I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know.
And also, maybe he could have even just played knight f5 right away without letting the queen in, right?
Yeah, I mean, the queen's not that good on c1. You probably want your rook there.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe even just going back to what we were talking about earlier, just here, although with the bishop on d7, maybe it's not as strong. But yeah, black still has, I think, a slight advantage because of his central dominance. Hmm. Yeah, this is interesting. So they've repositioned their pieces, and it seems to me maybe white has managed to make their space, their position make a bit more sense. Yeah, this is that legal? I guess it is.
Is it good though? We'll find out.
Yes, that's always the other question because now I mean it's all nice and fancy until you figure out that you're left with a miserable pawn on d3 that might not ever have the chance to leave that square.
He's pulling out all the stoppers. He's sacrificing everything. Whoa.
Whoa! I don't believe it, but we'll see. It seems like he should still be punished here. I mean,
It seems like it, but it's not obvious.
rook d6. Oh, I guess knight c6 anyway.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
weird.
Very interesting. And I guess he could get his pawn back, maybe with that, or maybe not. There's queen a2 check. King here. Oh, but the pawn on d3 might be covered this way.
Yeah, Nate might be hanging on to that pawn.
Yeah. Wow, that's some fireworks. We're busy lollygagging, talking about how Eddie's making progress, and then out of the blue, rook takes c6. Bang.
So wait a sec. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure because I've been pushing for d5 this whole game, and then when Eddie finally plays it, that's when Nate hits him with all the haymakers. But
Yes,
I think I'm still justified with d5 because why it didn't work, which assuming this is all good from Nathan, is because now Eddie's knight is on f5, and that allows the fork.
exactly. Yep. Yes. That's correct. Oh, this is similar to how the game went. Okay. Hmm. An interesting dance.
Yeah,
So what's Eddie
I don't know why you have to move your rook to d8.
putting more putting more pressure on the d3 square?
I guess,
Well,
but
also,
then you
yeah,
just give up d5.
there's no real reason for that, is there?
I mean, if bishop takes d3, we can follow it. Well, maybe we can't follow it up with e4 because bishop takes e4. If bishop takes d3, rook d1, and e4, obviously there's bishop e4. But yeah, maybe rook d8's fine. It just looked a bit off.
No, already Eddie's at a bit of time pressure.
And the thing was that they were. I was keeping an eye on the time this game. They were like on move 25, they were equal at pretty much 32 minutes. But then over a couple moves, Eddie dropped down to 1 minute and Nate still had 24.
Yes. So I think, in fact, interestingly, Eddie's ahead on time at this moment, and then he gets hit with this. Well, he gets hit with. So he spends, and this is actually very potential tilt engendering, right? So Eddie goes into the tank, spends 12 minutes on d5, and immediately gets hit with this, which has to be demoralizing in a way.
Yeah,
Unless he calculated it all out, which I kind of think he hadn't, because when he gets here, he spends 8 minutes on bishop e6, which
yeah,
suggests that he was caught unawares. Now, I thought this made sense, and then bring one of those knights into d4 and leave the bishop on g2 sad.
yeah. And now we don't lose a pawn and we have a good night.
Yep. And then we sink this guy in here, and yeah,
Yeah,
um, eating our curds and whey, whatever. Um, which I don't know what those medieval folks were thinking about asking Miss Moffat to eat curds and whey. Maybe they didn't have better things to eat. Maybe they had invented cheese then or something. I don't know. But um, so yeah, after this, I think black is just fine. Bishop e6 seems to play into, and again, maybe if he had seen rook c6, he's not going in for it. Yeah, this is where the position is now. Eddie's down to a minute. But he's trying. It looks like he's trying to get his bishop onto the long diagonal.
So Nate is up 2 pawns, but Eddie's pressuring. I mean, I want to take on e4. So if takes e4, bishop takes e4. Probably rook e1, right? I mean, white should. Can they play queen
Oh,
b4?
the bishop can come back to f1. I forgot. So queen b4 looks like it's doable. Attacking this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And this guy. So yeah, this would actually be maybe somewhat painful.
Yeah, so. And yeah, if we take on e4, we have to keep the rook on the last rank to not get checkmated, pretty much. And if we don't want to get checkmated, we'll probably lose that b4 pawn.
Yeah.
So then
So yeah, wherever he goes,
yeah,
maybe he goes to c3, so he's not losing a tempo along the way, or another tempo. I guess a1 or c1 might be doable.
what I like, well, if c, yeah, maybe I like
c1
c1
seems
a
a
bit
bit
better.
looser, but yeah, if we play that, and then white regains, sorry, black regains a pawn, and rook c isn't working because of that, or even queen e1.
Now I think there's no tactics immediately, so well, I mean we can try queen a1, but queen a1 might trade off pieces, so maybe we do want to do that. Because king g8 has to be too risky, because then we play bishop c4.
Yeah.
So maybe this would be good for Nate, just to trade off pieces. You are up a pawn in the same colored bishop ending. Yeah.
And they're all on the same side, so maybe black has some chances to hold, but
Yeah.
white is risking nothing by playing on in this kind of position.
And he has
So
1 minute to figure this out.
yes, as if things weren't bad enough. So yeah, I think this would have been a route for Nate take there, but then it's with the clock ticking, he's probably concerned about putting that bishop on the long diagonal. I mean, it's so easy to see all kinds of ghosts in these kind of positions. So maybe that's why that could be one reason why. The other reason why Nathan hasn't played yet is because he's probably focusing on his other board, because I'm sure he's in a simul again. So that's another possibility. Yeah. All right, let's look at John Heyer versus Jacob Pikus and see what Jacob did. So we have a Sicilian, accelerated dragon, and John is playing a very low-key approach, keeping it closed, so it'll be maneuvering, but I always had this impression that if you allow a Sicilian player to just do what they want to do, that one Sicilian player gets an even position, he's actually better. Maybe it's irrational, but that's what it always seems like when I look at these Sicilian games, where White's just playing normal moves and not pushing, and once Black gets his pieces out of the stall, he just seems to have easier play.
I mean, yeah, like Black's just at least completely equalized. I mean, the structures, even a couple moves ago, the structure was pretty much similar. Both
Mm-hmm.
sides had that, little pawn chain of three going, but Black just had a better bishop. So White didn't go for much.
No, and I guess appropriately he didn't get much. So and Black has already started his queenside play, pretty fundamental. And White has succeeded in finishing their minor piece development, but other than that, can't really point to having made progress. Okay, so now with Queen D2, maybe we're looking at exchanging off the bishops, which Jacob sidesteps at rook E8. And John plays bishop G5, threatening to double pawns on F6. And Jacob says, go ahead.
A bit surprising, but
Yeah, a little bit surprising. Not sure. Not sure I play bishop E6, but okay. Actually, how bad is this position for for Black? Because he can prepare F5, right? And then he doesn't have the double pawns anymore, and the position is opening up. His light square bishop on E6, or wherever it ends up being, is definitely the envy of his partner's eye on E2. So maybe this is not a bad judgment call by Jacob, allowing this double pawn, because the double pawn can get liquidated with
yeah,
advantage.
yeah.
So probably John shouldn't have taken the bait. Okay, so now John is trying to open up the center. Wow, and we.
But this can't work. I mean, I know Nate's game it worked, but this doesn't.
Yeah, this seems mighty, mighty ambitious.
Whoa.
Now it has a chance of working.
Now I love it.
No, he does have knight G1. Oh, he went for G3 instead. I wonder what happens after knight G1. I suppose the queen can capture on E4, maybe. Oh, where's the queen going?
Oh, I missed. Yeah, 91. Ah. Well, yeah, this is good for White.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure how he's because if he tries something like this, then we have this,
Or just take the bishop right off. Or that,
or
yeah.
just take the bishop immediately. But I like to
Yeah, might as well.
yeah,
Then we fork everything.
yes. Yes, I like the idea of evicting all of these marauders before settling down to dinner. So yeah, maybe bishop f3 first, get the queen back, and then everything's hanging for Black. So g3.
And it looked like he might have played that quickly. How long? Yeah, he spent 30
Yeah.
seconds on that move. That's not good.
Oh my word! Wow. Okay, that's not good, John. You need to spend a bit more time than that. That's not good. I guess, I mean, John's a very experienced player. He must have thought, well, why waste time? I'll give up the exchange. But he's giving up the exchange and his position is still going to be bad, it looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see what his idea is.
And then wait. He doesn't even take back on F1.
No, I'm not. I seriously don't know what the rationale is here. So if he takes, say, he takes here, then maybe black plays here, or maybe queen e4. Get out of the way of this guy. But I don't know. It just seems like there's no reason. I can't see a reason not to just take back. I mean, C takes d6 is that pawn isn't scoring a touchdown anytime soon.
No.
Oh, and now he has to give up. Now he has to exchange off queens. So then there's absolutely zero real chance of creating any decent play.
What's funny is, yeah, on that move, he spent 8 minutes. On all the other moves, he was blitzing out. But on this, he spent.
This move, wait a second.
I don't
So
understand.
on this move, he spends 8 minutes.
Maybe it was a bathroom
Okay.
break. I don't know.
That's possible. Oh, poor John. That's it doesn't even get to. Oh, this is something you don't see every day. So, White has 4 pawn islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 of those pawn islands are doubled isolated pawns, and then the other 2 pawn islands are isolated pawns. Which, okay, one of those pawn islands is disappearing, probably the next move or a move from now. But all right, well that now means there's only one set of double pawns. But okay, this is already a done deal, and a player of Jacob's caliber should be able to finish this rather routinely. All right. So a full rook up with another pawn to fall, and John had seen enough. All right, let's see what's going on with Torfi and Noah. So Torfi's back to his f4 ways. Did he play? Did he play e4 or d4? Yeah, I don't know if he played something different recently.
Yeah, he decided to switch it up, but
Yeah. But okay, so it's back to f4, and we have d5 with knight c6. So I wonder if Noah does Noah feel comfortable in like Chigorin type positions?
I'm not sure.
This is an interesting interpretation.
Queen takes c6 is a little interesting.
Yeah.
One
I
thing I
understand
like,
rationale.
yeah, I feel like either way you might be losing a tempo. A queen takes c6 probably is better because if you play take c6, I think obviously white isn't developing the bishop on the regular diagonal on the c1 h6 with all those
Mm-hmm.
pawns. So white wants to play b3 and bishop a3, and
Yeah.
that'll hit black's queen. So this probably is a slightly preferable, but I think white already has a nice opening. Ooh, now I like it even more.
Yeah. It helps if you've decided early on where your king is going to live. And it seems like Noah had decided his king was going to live on the queen side, in which case spoiling the king's abode before it gets there probably isn't helping him. So he goes with this. An interesting moment because now he probably has to get his queenside rubbished anyway, unless he plays there. And now it's up to white to decide how he wants to deal with the tension. Torfi chooses to capture on g4 and then knight g4 instead of queen g4. So Noah isn't in a hurry to exchange off queens, it appears. And that could come to hurt him. And I'm trying to figure out why rook f4 isn't working. Oh, maybe it's not necessary. Yeah.
I left the game for a second, and the queen teleported from c6 to e4.
Yes. So
This
is what happened. This is what happened. So Noah played knight f6, and Torfi decided to fork the queen and bishop, and in a way that he's also threatening to spoil the queen side for Black's king. So then Noah defends his bishop, which is attacked twice. And then after knight takes bishop, he plays knight takes. And I think it seems like he's maybe avoiding, I don't know if there's a tactic that I'm missing here. After this, I don't think this is working.
No.
To white's advantage, really. You have to decide where you're going to capture, which way you're going to capture. Maybe ef6. But instead, he played knight takes, which seems to me a little bit risky because there's this interference tactic with f5. And the only way for the black queen to continue defending the knight is to come here. And I was initially looking at this to see if that was a thing. It turns out that that might only get 2 pawns for a piece only, because bishop d4 is happening next. So say if he plays something like this. Oh, actually, maybe this is working. If he plays e5. No, but oh, maybe there is something here.
Yeah, you're hovering over the bishop. I do like bishop a3.
Yes. Yes, I think this is preventing that bishop c5 idea, and then black isn't getting enough compensation.
Yeah, but it'll be a long game, but that does look like it's winning a piece for the 2 pawns.
But maybe Torfi has a different idea because he plays knight c3, and the queen doesn't have that many squares available to it in order to also cover the knight. In fact, if you try something like queen b4, then a3, and he's run out of squares. So Noah is forced to go into this knight e3 idea. Only he doesn't get the benefit of a pin on f2. And so this has to be even better than rook f4 in that regard. So I think Torfi made the right choice.
Yeah.
See, it's usually good advice not to follow my advice when I'm looking at these games, apparently.
Oh, don't sell yourself short.
So this is actually not trivial because Noah can still try and create some play, but it's going to be difficult because he went to that whole sequence and his pieces were still not developed, and it just so happens that oh wow.
Yeah, he keeps making use of the fact that bishop g3 falls to queen g4.
Yes, I should have mentioned that at this moment he can afford to do that because bishop g3 trying to threatening checkmate and threatening the rook on e1 loses to this intermezzo check. And there's also the check that's coming. So before you capture the bishop, to say, oh, I suppose it could go there, but then that loses to this. Wait, for style points, are we supposed to be promoting to rook instead?
Yeah, it depends on if you're feeling nice.
Of course, he could play queen e6 too, but okay, now we're getting ridiculous. But yeah, that's the reason why he can't take on g3 immediately, and so he has to defend against the pawn's promotion, and then knight d5 happens, which is keeping the pawn on e7 safe. And Noah moves his king away, so it doesn't have to do with the queen g4 stuff. But now queen f3 is happening, and the f7 pawn's under attack. The g3 pawn is defended. Black still has difficulty mobilizing because of pressure against p7. So Noah's in trouble, for sure. And I find it admirable the way Torfi's trying to use every move to get another piece into the action and keep his pieces well coordinated, in addition to just the mechanical getting the pieces out. So Noah's going all in because he has to. He's a piece down and needs to create some play, and the only play that makes any sense is trying to wrestle that guy.
If I can pull back a move, I think there might have been a tactic here. So after queen g5 for black, I'm wondering if oh wait, no. Or does this work? Okay, I'll just say it anyways. I want to play knight f6. And if they take, I think they just lose because then we take on f6, and then we win not only the rook in the corner, but we're also promoting on e8. So they have to play.
So you're looking at this here.
Yeah, and if they take, and we take. But yes, this is the line. What if they just take that guy? Maybe there's nothing. I mean, we trade rooks. I don't know.
Yeah, that counts for something. But then we've lost one of the prides of our position on e7, which we might end up losing anyway. But and I guess liquidating into a winning end game or whatever can't be bad.
This isn't working like I thought, but just an idea.
Well, it's an idea, yes. It's worth looking into. So Noah's trying to get things going over there, and Torfi is using the fact that he's up so much material to threaten black with exchanges. And now his queen is located where it's keeping the h-pawn, black's h-pawn, from contributing. And maybe he's going to play knight f4 next to boot the enemy queen away. And so Noah says, okay, well, I'll just push that forward. And he's looking at c2. Unfortunately, it looks like Noah's going to run out of wood for the fire here. I was looking at this.
Yeah, I was too.
But okay, you don't have to win all the opponent's pieces. And if knight d3 is keeping everything comfortable the way Torfi likes, why not? yeah, the downside of that is you're giving up that pawn, but maybe it's worth it at the end of the day. Because now the queen is almost trapped. Actually, is it about to be trapped fully? No. Fortunately for him, he's not fully trapped.
This is dodgy.
Yeah, this is very dodgy. Yeah. Torfi is taking some risks here. I mean, just to show how risky this position can be, if Queen E4 happens, then all of a sudden Noah's rewarded for keeping up the fight. So Torfi plays Queen D4, which is a lot stronger. Well, stronger than Queen E4 because it allows him to play Queen G1.
But
And
but even there, why aren't you stepping up with your? Oh, you have. Yeah, I mean, why aren't you stepping up with your king? I don't know.
we have for Queen F1.
Oh, whoops, we can't play. I don't know what I'm losing.
Yeah. So so now Noah's still trying to create some sort of play. Desperately trying to open up squares around the Black King. Okay, so he's getting a pawn back, but and you keep on fighting, you never know. It's possible that Torfi gets nervous and drops something. The knight in these kind of positions can be a great strength, but also liability if it's not connected to the hip of the black queen of the queen, the white queen. If it gets loose, then bad things happen. Fortunately for Torfi, he can simplify right away. That was a nice maneuver to get the queens off the board. But the game is only half done because now we need to figure out can we get our knight to the right position and get our king over there because we're a pawn down if we were white, and black would like to exchange off um, two of his pawns for two of white's pawns, and then claim he has a draw. And so this is where we are at the moment. I think Noah's got 3 minutes left to Torfi's 7. And Torfi has to seriously consider how he's going to defend this position because Noah's made progress. Noah's going to, if allowed, and his drawing chances go up, and maybe he's even able to swindle a win if Torfi. Because it just seems Torfi's play roundabout here, not here, there. It seems like he starts getting really nervous. I don't know if that was the impression you got too.
Yeah, something was off.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been this. It shouldn't have gotten this messy. He was up a piece. It looked a little scary, but nothing too serious.
Yeah, I think what happened is he was so adamant to exchange off pieces to relieve the pressure that he got into this awkward position. Basically ends up misplacing his pieces. But okay, he was fortunate to be able to exchange of queens, and now we've gotten here. And so the question is, can black snip off enough pawns to draw? With king d3, let's look at this for a second. So king d3, say we play here. There's no defending a2.
I feel like this is holding now for black.
Yeah, I think Black might be able to hold this. Anyway, we'll see. They're both good fighters, and so I don't think we'll have a boring ending to this
Be-
one. All right, Jeremy
before we
Kyle.
actually jump into this one, I did want to mention that just the standings, considering this is round four.
Oh
So
yeah.
this game in particular between Jeremy and Kevin, they're tied with Michael Hainish for first place in the open section. They're
Okay.
all three of them are on 2.5 points. And then for the Premier, it's just Jordan with 3 points, and then two guys at two. So and then
Uh,
Jordan drew tonight, and the only two guys on two are Nathan and Eddie. So Jordan's looking like a shoe in for first place, but for the Open, it'll be a fight between those three players.
I thought you were going to say that for the Open, the field is open, but okay. Sorry for that. Um, Here we go there, and let's stop for a second with this one. This is not the most common. I don't know if this is the Baltic defense, maybe. Is Bishop F5?
I'm not sure.
And yeah, it's can lead to interesting positions.
You wouldn't pitch me playing it as black. I don't play stuff like this.
Yeah, black is saying, I don't fear your gambit. I'm going to get my bishop out of the chain, and I'm not going to play that silly c6 in order to achieve that either. And the question then becomes, can white somehow take advantage of that bishop to either set up a good pawn center? The way it's gone so far, it looks like Kevin. I don't know that Kevin played the most incisive here. So after this, maybe bishop g5, maybe queen b3 to induce black to give up the center. With knight d5, it's still okay, but it seems as if black got away with something a little bit. He's
Kind
got
of
his
a,
bishop outside the chain in the queen's gambit, right? And it's not clear what white got in return.
yeah.
And so the position is probably even, which is not bad. But white can't lay claim to an opening advantage, really. Although now we get here, and Kevin has managed to get 2 pawns at the center. It has a weird Grunfeld like position feeling to it. This position, um, maybe more like semi-Tarrasch though. But yeah, with the 2 against 1, and then white having 2 against 1 at the center. It has a Grunfeld-like thing. Now the bishop's on the wrong diagonal for that, but maybe he's able to use the bishop in a different way. So actually, at this point, maybe white is maybe a bit better. So
Slightly,
I
maybe.
guess yeah, slightly better maybe. So maybe I'll take back my earlier assessment that white might be a little bit better. Okay, so h6, bishop b2. And so white might be looking at getting the breakthrough with d5, d6, d7. Just put the fishbone in there. So they're doing a bit of back and forth. And now Jeremy is going to see if he can plant his knight onto the mildly weakened light square b3. And Kevin tries to do his own mini invasion, but
I like 95. It looks good.
It seems a little loosening to me, 95. For what I'm not sure where what the knight's targeting.
True.
And then along this queen b3, because there's some the white pieces are optically nice, but with the knight on a5, there are these fork ideas that might rustle things up, and then of course that pawn on d4. So let's see how this works. So knight goes there, and rook in. Yeah, that might be the moment, because it seems as if after 95, 95 wasn't necessarily threatening anything. I guess maybe it was helping to defend c4. But after this, and then queen b3, Jeremy gets the initiative and doesn't seem to give it back.
Yeah.
Hmm. 97. All right, so now it's anybody's game. This is double rook and pawn, and it's not. Yeah, I wouldn't say one person has a definite advantage here. Whoa,
No.
is rook d6 working? No, no, it isn't working. Okay.
I,
So this is actually it's not a clear deal. White is a bit better only because if they do create a pass pawn, maybe they have better chances of it being mobile, unlike black's pass pawn, which is on b6. At least that's what it looks like optically. But there's always room for people to make mistakes at these endings.
yeah, I have no idea why he went king g2. I mean, king
Yeah,
f2.
I don't know why king. Well, maybe he doesn't want to be locked behind on the second rank. And if
Yeah, I
he
mean, like
comes here,
a couple moves ago when he went king g2 back on the rook, I was just king f2 is so much more natural.
yeah, king f2 just seems more to the point. Unless, yeah, actually in this position, that would be the way. So if this happens, you leave your h pawn, you're getting this guy in return, and your king is stepping up. That has to be a better approach. So yeah, I agree with you. King g2 is suspect. And now he has to give up the pawn anyway. And
Right.
maybe
Now he loses it.
Kevin missed. Yeah, I think Kevin missed that. Well, he could go to h5 to defend this pawn.
Oh
Maybe.
yeah, true. But now black's pawn is advancing.
Exactly. And that's the key difference. That at some point, the number of pawns is less important than their mobility and their ability to score touchdowns. So Kevin plays rook d5, and after b5, now it's decidedly in black's favor. Of course, black has the opportunity to blunder away a rook and declines the kind invitation. If he had been impatient and played here, then rook there snags the rook over there. So plays king d6, and now he takes the pawn. Hmm. There's a bit more adventure in this position than Did the last the when we last
I
did
don't know how.
commentary on it
Yeah, I don't know how Jeremy wins this.
by that. That's how he wins it because now the king is
Uh,
misplaced.
uh, yeah.
Wow. That was a topsy turvy ending, and I'm sorry we didn't go into all the details, but have to get to the other games. Um, so Eric Galon um, beat Garen Firkus, and let's look at that. So, sorry, just another way. So London, Eric plays a King's Indian setup against it. So in these positions, maybe AB3 could also be considered. That way you keep the opponent's knight out of E4, and you get a half open A file, which might be useful. But okay, knight B3 is not horrible. So after a ring around the rosy, Garon offers an exchange of knights. And okay, position is still playable on both sides. It comes down to it'll come down to who can maneuver better, basically.
By the way, Garen Firkus, I wasn't familiar with him. He appears to be a 1327 rated player.
Ah, okay. So maybe a little bit overmatched here. He gives up a tactic to Eric with bishop takes d4 based on the pin against that dude. So and now black is a pawn up and has a decent position to boot. Yikes.
Yeah. This is like the easiest position ever to play up upon. You're just gonna push,
Yes.
push, push. It almost looks like you have two pawns.
Yes. And now the rook is has run out of squares on f3. So he has to give up the exchange. And he doesn't even get to boast about the bishop pair anymore. Oh, that was. Well, I guess everything is losing at this point, so it's not too drastic of a decision. And so Eric wins. So yeah, I think bishop takes d4 was an interesting miss by Garen. And after that, Eric used good technique to finish the game. Daryl Bimberg versus John Baker. See here. So we have a Kale system by Daryl. Oh, and this is like Kale versus Grunfeld. It seems like. And okay, it's an interesting system that Daryl's playing.
Oh,
Oh, oh, oh. It was interesting until that.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if there's a better idea here. So first of all, knight e5 isn't necessary at that moment. If black wants to play e5 and give up his dark square bishop in the process, um, don't get in his way, right? Um, maybe find a different move, like B1 or something, to continue your development. But let him
Yeah,
play E5. He wants to play E5. Yeah.
I quite like the move. It's just yeah, and so I like knight e5. It's just obviously the problem was queen d2. So maybe play knight e5 and after bishop b6. I mean maybe we just play bishop f3. I'm not super worried about a piece landing on c4. Yeah, something like this, and then maybe I would want to play. Obviously we can't, but I want to play d5 and blunt that bishop, but then we hang a knight. So um, maybe we reroute to d3 with our knight and say it wasn't a total loss because now our bishop's on the long diagonal, something like this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we
That
can
seems
reroute to c5 maybe.
well. I'm guessing white might. Sorry, black might play something like knight c4
Yeah,
and then b5 or b6 as a possibility.
I think this is
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. This would be. Yeah. But okay. For sure, bishop queen d2. Um, so I guess one general bit of caution whenever your pieces, whenever you have the time to look at it, always make sure your pieces are safe. And um, there's that old saw about loose pieces dropping off. Now, what's the radar to tell you that playing queen d2 is going to lose a piece? Well, the queen isn't on a protected square, and there's still tension with other enemy pieces. And so if you have in your mental Rolodex that bishop e5 is a possibility, and that in order to capture back, you're going to capture with the d pawn, then maybe that might be the warning sign that queen d2 is dangerous. I don't know. It's hard to, or maybe a better way to go about it is always do a sanity check before you make your move. So after you've thought about what move you're going to play, then you stop and say, okay, am I dropping anything? So you have the queen on d2 in your mind, and then you look for your opponent's checks, captures, and threats, and see, oh, he has a capture on e5, which just so happens to win a piece.
Yeah,
And um, and so and maybe it's the case that Daryl had seen bishop e5 and thought bishop b4 would be salvation, because that's not a bad idea. Basically, by playing bishop b4, he's attacking the knight on a5, but importantly, is defending his queen. So now, if John plays a careless move, say knight here, then he's able to get his piece back. Unfortunately for Daryl, John's able to take his bishop away from being attacked on e5 and defend the knight on a5. So now he's just a piece down for, well, I was going to say piece down for nothing, but apparently there's still some complications here. So knight takes b4, bishop c8, very careful, maybe a little bit passive, but um,
I like it. Yeah,
I like it. Don't don't mess around. Just consolidate, and then you can go on the attack. And now he does both. Attack, threatening checkmate, and an exchange of queens. Well, not checkmate, it was just a check. Because the king can come to f2. Wow.
We need more king walks at the club. We don't get a lot of king walks.
Yes. Now, I don't know if bishop e4 might have been more accurate. I'm not sure, but this seems okay. It's still winning, but it seems a bit more risky because now your king is open. And in general, you don't want to allow your opponent to get even a whiff of hope. So I think here, maybe bishop takes first, check. Queen goes somewhere. Now, of course, the difficulty is, can that queen get out of there alive? I guess there is queen here, and that should just about hold things together.
Yeah, I think Daryl had an interesting opportunity here. Yeah, a couple moves back. Instead, he took on f5 with the rook. But instead of that, what about rook g1?
Yes. Yep. Trying to take advantage of that.
And I think
So
queen
say,
f3, yeah, queen f3 is forced because we have to eye this. Yeah, something like this. And now at least you're in the game.
yeah, it seems like it would be at least causing some trouble, right? Maybe he has to play here and then there, and
But yeah, the checks are gonna run out. So like queen
yeah,
b5, king f3, and then I mean we're gonna win the bishop. So we're down a bunch of pawns, but this would have been a try.
yes, that's a good point. Which again points to the danger of allowing your king's position to be ruptured um, with the exchange happening on f5.
Yeah.
So Daryl's tried to engineer something on the king side, but unfortunately, um, Black's pieces were just too quick. And this is a nice checkmate. Now, some purists would say that the correct move here is queen here, because when you have a choice between checkmate and winning the queen, you always go for the queen. But okay, we're not purists here. We're happy with the mate that John found. Now we've got what happened in Eddie's game.
Yeah, we should look at that.
I think we were here. Okay, so we landed here, and we were thinking about maybe pawn takes pawn, but instead he plays queen a1, queen d4. Okay,
Yeah, because one of the lines we had calculated, Nathan was only up a pawn, and it wasn't the B pawn, it was just the F pawn. So this is not good for Eddie.
no, no, this is not good for Eddie. Oh, okay, but now he doesn't have the long diagonal, so rook d1 isn't as strong.
Yeah, that startled me for a moment too, but yeah.
Okay, so yeah, now Nate will have very little trouble in winning this one. And the bishop needs to give way, and then once it gives way, nothing keeps the pawn from getting to b8. Well, outside of a sack of something of the remaining rook. Okay, let me see. What are we missing? I think we haven't looked at
The Noah Stewart and Torfy game.
Yes,
knight,
Noah
knight and
Stewart and
pawn.
Torfi. So let's see how this went. Okay, so when we left, we were talking about maybe Noah being able to win at least a pawn, maybe more. Oh, now what are we missing here? Why didn't you take on a2?
I have no
Is there a
idea.
forced is there a forced checkmate or something?
Is he worried about his king getting trapped? I don't
Well, his
know.
king will be trapped, but can he actually checkmate him and make progress against those three pawns over there?
I don't think
I
so.
think.
Because to release this bind, White's gonna have to move the knight, and then that lets the king out. You have to move the king, then that lets Black's king out. So, yeah, I don't know why you don't take on a2.
Yeah, that might have been his salvation. But okay, so he goes here instead. Trophy plays knight to try and protect his pawn, but that isn't really working. And now, oh, so if Noah tries to save his c pawn, then Torfi brings his knight back to c3. Okay, what happens after c6 now?
Yeah, then White gets the barricade. They play knight b6, and then they win.
Oh yeah, because there's no way to break that.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I think they'll go knight c4 next and win the pawn.
Hmm. Well, if oh yeah, if we play king here, then this is not helping Black's cause because the pawn on a5 goes. Okay, so it seems as if b5 might be the best practical chance. Um, oh man, I guess nothing's working for Noah. I was trying to see if a4 was working. But there are two issues. One is this. Oh, but this would be draw, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be a draw, but
Yeah.
um,
Um, but I think after here,
yeah, knight.
he's able to come back with this.
Yeah, no, we're just winning.
Yeah, now we're just waiting because he can just go here, allow them to promote, and then knight here. Okay. Dang. That would have been an interesting finish. But now Torfi has everything under control. And that's a sign of a professional approach. Well, mess around, just no need to take unnecessary risks. And Torfi got it done.
That's
All right.
instructive, yeah.
That was rather instructive. One last one, but I don't think the moves are all in. No, they're still putting the moves in between Una and Brendan. I think we covered everything else.
Let's see. Yes, correct. Yeah, and then this Una
Okay.
and Brendan game, yeah, there's only 8 moves sometimes.
Yeah, I think they're still inputting the moves. I don't think it's done yet.
Yeah, because the game that they're showing inside of that game is Daryl's game. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not right. Okay,
All
then so
right.
we had the 8 games, and Jordan's looking like the clear favorite for the premier section. He only has Nathan really chasing him, and Nathan's still what would that be? A point back. Nathan's at 4. Well, no, maybe a half a point back. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Nathan will be at 3
At
points
three,
now.
right?
Yeah, and Jordan's at 3.5. But they have already played each other, so that's not good for
Okay.
Nathan. So Jordan should be able to clinch with a draw. And then for the Open, we had Jeremy taking down Kevin. So Jeremy's in sole first. Well, I guess we didn't see Michael Hanish's game, unfortunately, but
Oh
that
yeah.
will get that will get updated for next Thursday night or so. And they haven't played each other, so we'll get a forced pairing of Jeremy and Michael Hanish, and that will decide the Open January Thursday nighter. But
Cool.
and then on to our announcements to wrap things up. We wanted to just mention chess goals as always. They are simple chess courses for non-grand masters. You can learn complete repertoires there in under 100 lines, so makes it simpler, makes it easier. Don't need to cram your head full of book knowledge if you don't want to, but still get some good info. And that's local national master Matt Jensen, who does create those courses. And use the coupon code CASTLE and you'll save 30%. And then check out the new Tuesday 60 plus Thursday nighter, Tuesday nighter. It's not so new anymore, but it was something that I think we started, if I remember correctly, maybe it's probably like spring of 2025. Still
I
somewhat
think
new,
so.
but yeah, people should check that out. And it's similar to Thursday nighter, but just a bit less of a time control. And then our last sponsor is Webeccentric. They are empowering small businesses and startups through tailored digital solutions. Webeccentric specializes in custom web development, cloud solution, and digital strategy for small businesses. They have over 25 years experience, and they bring enterprise level expertise to businesses of all sizes. We're here to help. Reach us at webeccentric.com and shop with us at shop.webeccentric.com. And the merch store is attached to the shop.webeccentric.com um, website, and you can shop all sorts of different stuff there. Get some Castle merch, which is pretty cool. There's Scandi shirts, and there's mugs, and there's yoga mats, and a lot of different cool stuff if you're into that. But with that being said, I think we will be signing off for tonight, and our next stream will be, of course, next Thursday. And I believe we will have New Bear and OK on, but don't quote me on that.
All right. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right.